Hello, my name is Laura and welcome to my channel, Loves Rubberstamps Needlecrafts. It is Monday, April 20th, and today is actually my son's birthday, so if he ever watches this channel, happy birthday, Austin. I thought tonight I would bring you my plans for Stitch Maynia. And if you're not familiar with Stitch Maynia, it is a Facebook group that was started in 2015. And a group of stitchers had decided to start 15 projects in the first 15 days of May. Since then, it has evolved, and it can now be pretty much whatever you want to make it for yourself. The goal is just to enjoy your stitching, have fun, maybe take yourself outside your comfort zone a little bit, and just get excited about your stitching. Some people like to start the number of projects that correspond with the year. So since it's 2020, they'll start 20 new projects. Some people like to start one every day of the month. Some people like to start one every week. Some people like to just work on whips, and some like to pick one project and work on it through the whole year. So really you can do whatever works for you and your schedule. And like I said, the goal is just to have fun and enjoy your stitching, and maybe try a new rotation or something that takes you out of your comfort zone a little bit. For me, I participated the first time in Stitch Maynia in 2016. My goal was to start 16 projects that year, but I only ended up getting to start about 7 or 8 that I had planned. And every year since then that I participated in Stitch Maynia, I do what's called the Blimey Cat Method. That was started by Brittany with Ingleside Imaginarium. Her channel used to be called Blimey Cat Stitches. That's why it's called the Blimey Cat Method. But what it is if you've participated in previous Stitch Maynias and you started a project, if you are still working on that project or have it as a whip, then you would need to work on that whip in your current Mania. If you finished a previous Mania start, then you get a new start for that project. So for me, since I've participated since 2016, I have 8 whips from previous Stitch Manias that I have not finished yet. So I always plan to try and pick the number of projects to correspond with the year. So I want to work on 20 projects in May, which means 8 of those 20 will have to be my previous whips from other Stitch Manias that are not finished yet. And then I plan on having 12 new starts. So for this video, what I thought I would do is take you through and show you the 8 whips that I plan on working on. And then I have my new starts picked out, but I have a few more than 12. So I'll just show you the ones that I really want to start. And because I am considered an essential worker, I work for the police department, so I still have to work. So I don't get a stitch every single night. So part of Mania for me is just planning my projects and then just seeing how many I make it through in the month. Like I said, all of the years previously, I've never made it through all the starts that I wanted to start for the month. So I will show you the ones that I would like to start, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'll make it all through that list. I'll just get through as many as I get through. So for the month of May, the way I've worked the schedule is the days that I would have to work, I plan on starting a new start and working on each of the new starts for 2 days. Usually the nights I have to work, I'm lucky if I get an hour of stitching time. So if I get a new start, 2 days, I might get a couple of hours. And then my previous whips, I plan on working on those on my scheduled days off and just having work on one whip on one day off, and the next day off work on a different whip. So those get some really good time, so I can try to knock some of those out or get some good progress on my days off during May. So we'll go ahead and get started, and I thought I would show you my 8 carryover whips first, and then after that I will show you the projects I have slated to pick from for my 12 new starts if I get to make it through all of them. So we'll go ahead and get started. I have a few notes down here if I look down, so I apologize. My very first project that's a carryover is the very first project I ever started in my very first Stitch Mania, and it's still not finished. And I don't have a cover picture of it because it's a patterns online, so I'll have to insert a picture of what it looks like, but it is Teresa Winsler's The Fortunate Traveler, and I'll insert a picture here of what it will look like finished. And here's where I'm at on it. So this one I'm stitching it on 28 count cream cashel linen, which is the recommended fabric, and I'm currently working in the border, and I believe I'm adding the last color of green to these vines, and then that part of the stitching will be done, and then I can move down and start more of that border. The only thing that would be left is there's some cross hatches that go across them and then some beads, but I'll do that after I get the border done. So that's where I'm at on that one. So that was my very first project for Stitch Maynia in 2016. My next carryover project is one that I started last year, and that's Raven Queen by Mirabilia. I have this one on the scroll rod too, and I tried to unroll it a little bit so you could kind of see where I'm at. I'm stitching this one on 32 count Carpe Noctem from Under the Sea. No, it's from Sunny Dyes fabric, sorry. But here's where I am. And I started this so the tower would be centered in that moon. I love that one. I can't wait to get back to stitching it. Let's see. Trying to figure out where to put my pile here. Okay, my next carryover is one that I started in 2018, and it is Fresh Eggs Farm by Hands On Design and Priscilla Blaine, and I started on the big one. And I haven't, excuse me, I haven't got to work on this one very often either. And here's where I am. It's got a little bit of a chicken and some fence. Let's stick into my... And this is on a 32 count Belfast linen, and I dyed this myself using Rit dye to try to look like a chalkboard. I want to stitch that whole series. Actually, I want to stitch everything that Priscilla designed. So I have all of her chalk designs that I want to stitch. So I figured I better learn how to dye some fabric that looks like chalkboard if I'm going to do all of those. So my next whip is from 2016, so it was my very first Stitch Maynia, and it's this kit from Candamar Designs called Eat My Dust. I'm not very far on this one either. It's kind of a theme for me with my projects. And here's where I am. And I'm just stitching this on the Aida that came in the kit. It's a 16 count ivory Aida. My next carryover is from Samplers and Stories. It's called Herbal Grimoire, and she's on Etsy, and you can go to her shop and buy these as PDFs. And here's where I am on this one. It's on a 40 count mummy wraps from Ship's Manor. I really love this fabric for prim Halloween designs. It's amazing. That was supposed to be one of my Stitch 9s for last year that I didn't get finished. My next carryover whip is Chalk Art, Seasons in Chalk Art Winter by Hands On Design and Priscilla Blaine. And this one came from the Just Cross Stitch magazine. This is in the February of 2016 issue. And I want to stitch this whole series too, and this is the first one I've started. And that one is on 32 count slate from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. That's where I am on that one. My next carryover is from Lizzie Kate. It's called Promise Me, and I started this one in 2018. I want to stitch this for my daughter, and here's where I am, and this is being stitched on a 32 count lamb's wool linen. And for this one, I picked my own floss colors that the words I'm stitching in DMC. It's a variegated floss. 4000 is the number, but it's got kind of a really pretty navy blue and like a dark brown. And I just tried to match up my floss colors pretty similar to the ones that were called for. My last carryover whip is gonna have to be a restart because it's Winter Bell Pull from Stony Creek, and it's their older one. When I originally started this one, I started it in 2016 for my first Mania, and I had started it on the recommended fabric, which is an 18 count Fireside Afghan fabric. And here's where I got to. So not very far. This fabric is pretty floppy, and honestly, the bell pull ended up being really, really long, and I really don't have a good place to display it as a bell pull. And I belong to a Facebook group called Completed Stony Cross Stitch Collection, or Stony Creek Completed Cross Stitches, or something like that. And one of the ladies in that group had shared her finish of this design, and she had stitched each letter individually and had bought it's not really a shelf, but you hang it on the wall. It's like a chalkboard. It's really long, and it has a chalkboard for each day of the week, so 7 individual chalkboards along the bottom, and then across the top of it, it has a little slider that corresponds with every day of the month. So it's 1 through 31 at the top, and it's got the slider where you can slide it down. And what she did is she had stitched each letter individually and then put them in those slots that the chalkboards went in, and it was beautiful. It looked really nice. So I actually have that same wall piece to hang on the wall. Oh, I'm gonna get the hiccups, sorry. So I decided that I want to stitch mine that way too and finish it for that shelf. And I plan on stitching each season and then being able to swap them out for each season. So I'm going to restart this and stitch each letter separately. So the fabric I think I'm going to stitch it on instead is a raw, I think it's just called raw linen. It's a 32 count. This is the silver, so it has silver sparkles. And I also have this in with gold sparkles too. So one of those, either gold or silver. I'm thinking silver for this one. But I have a yard of this and I need to cut it down, which I don't, this is why my projects never get started, because when I have yards of fabric, I don't have a really good way to cut it down. So it just sits there waiting for me to do it, and I don't like to. So they sit there forever in my to start someday pile. So those are my 8 carryover whips that I'll plan on working on. And like I said, I will plan on working on each one of my whips on a day off. So I can get some good stitchy time on those and hopefully get them done sooner rather than later. Okay, now we'll go ahead and I will go through my new starts that I want to get started on, or that I'm planning. Like I said, I picked out a few more than 12, so we'll just see which ones I end up choosing and how many I actually get started and get through, because like I said, I don't usually get a stitch every day. And so hopefully with, you know, being able to stitch on a new start for 2 days, maybe if I don't get to work on it for the full 2 days, maybe one of those days I can start it. So I will share with you the ones I plan on doing. The first one I'd like to start is my next cottage of the month from Country Cottage Needleworks. I need to stitch the March one next. I've stitched January and February, so I'm just going in order. Originally, I had planned to, when I started these, I wanted to stitch one each month and have them done the month before, and then that way I could get them finished and display them, but hasn't happened. So I want to stitch March, and I have this, I'm going to stitch it on 28 count lamb's wool linen. That's what I've stitched the previous 2 on, so I'll just stick with that. I'm going to try to put these away as we go. I tried to take them out of the package because I didn't realize how, I recorded this once before, but I didn't realize how noisy my little plastic containers are to take the projects in and out of. So I wanted to redo it to try to reduce the noise, because I know some people wear headphones and stuff and all that crinkle blows your eardrums. So I tried to take things out to make it a little quieter. The next project that I want to start, I want to stitch these as a gift for a lady that I used to work with. She's retired now, but she does a lot with dog rescues, and she is one of those people that basically drives all over the United States and takes dogs from shelters and does like a little train to get a dog to a foster home so it doesn't have to stay in the shelter. And she loves chows, and she's always had chow puppies herself, chow dogs that she's raised. So I found a couple of patterns of little chows and that I want to stitch for her. So the first one I want to do is this little guy down here. And I don't plan on stitching this border. I'm just going to stitch the dog. and it's called, from this leaflet called Puppies by Pegasus. But I want to stitch that little guy on this. It's just a huck towel, one of those huck towels. And without the border, he'll fit perfectly on that little towel. And then the second project I want to stitch for her to go with the towel, I want to stitch it on this pack of this perforated paper. Actually, I bought this at a garage sale for 25 cents. And I want to stitch, it's from an Encyclopedia Puppies, and it's this little Chow Chow puppy. And I want to finish him as a little magnet for her to go on her fridge to go with her little towel. So I want to start those. And not for Stitch Mania, but since this is in the same project bag, eventually I would like to stitch for Terry. There's this little wall hanging quilt that has, it's a chow design, but they have the different colorways for each kind of chow. There's the regular, a cinnamon chow, a black chow, and what's called a blue chow. And when Terry worked with me at the police department, she actually had, at that time, a black chow, a little chow like this, I think it's a cinnamon chow, and a blue chow. And all of them have since passed away. And she used to have, before she had these three, she had 2 chows that were this color. So I would like to stitch these for her, and as kind of like a memorial piece to her puppies that she's raised. So the little black one she had was named Chelsea. Her little guy was named Joey, and then she had one that she called Misty Blue, who was the blue chow, and she had rescued Misty from a breeder, and she was very scared of people, like hadn't really been handled, and Terry was able to bring her out of her shell, and she had an awesome life until she passed away. But so I'd like to do something like that for her eventually after this first 2 projects as kind of a memorial piece to her puppies. So that won't be for Stitch Mania. That will be a future endeavor after I get these first 2 done for her. So the next one I would like to start is from Satsuma Street, called Sweet Spring. And I just bought this online from her Etsy shop, so it's a PDF. And I want to stitch this one on a 32 count Murano in Pixie Dust from Crafty Kitten. I tried to pick for my Mania starts, I tried to pick a piece or 2 for each season so I can get some different seasonal pieces going. The next one I'd like to start is from Mimi's Quilts, and it's called Sleigh Bells Ring. I think this is so cute. Those little reindeer are adorable. I thought about stitching this and finishing it into a pillow maybe. And I plan on stitching it on this 14 count light Fiddlers Aida. I think it would look really cool with the kind of the old-fashioned design. The next one I'd like to start is one that I planned on starting last year and then never got to it. But it's from Little House Needleworks, called Milady's Strawberries. I love strawberries for summer. And I want to stitch that one on 36 count Wren from Picture This Plus. The next one I want to start is Bobbing for Pumpkins. by With Thy Needle and Thread, Brenda Gervais. And I plan on stitching that one on a 32 count vintage wood smoke linen from Lakeside Needlecrafts. I think that'll look good. The next one I'd like to start is Plum Street Samplers Harvest Keeper. And I plan on stitching that on a 40 count sampler gold from Color and Cotton. The next one I'd like to start, last year at the Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat that I got to go to, Priscilla and Chelsea were there, and we were given it's actually going to be the last release of her mason jar series that she does with Hands-On Design. But this is the one that we got, and we had to pre-stitch this for our finishing class for the Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat last year. So this is the Liberty jar. And like I said, this one will be probably the next release that they do, because it'll be the last one in that series. Pretty bow, the cover button. But we had to pre-stitch that for the Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat, and then we took the finishing class from Priscilla and Chelsea to finish it like that. So I thought I'd show that with you, because for my start for Mania at the retreat, we got the small pattern to do the small that matches it, and I haven't stitched this yet. So I do have the little oval tin that she finishes on, so I'd like to get that stitched so I can finish it and have the matching set, and then start stitching all the rest in the series to be able to swap it out on that little stand. And I just plan on stitching that on 28 count Jobelan in black. So the next one, I'm not sure if I'll get to start this one or not. It's Winter Rose Manor from Brenda Gervais, With Thy Needle and Thread. I haven't decided on my fabric yet. I just ordered some fabric from Kitten Stitcher that I'm hoping will work for this, but I won't know until I see it in person. I had ordered this Heartland Newcastle to use it to stitch with. You're supposed to use, there's another pattern on the back that takes 40 count, and then the big sampler takes 36 count. So I got a piece of 40 and a piece of 36. But this Heartland, it's okay, but it had a little bit more of a greener undertone, kind of a green tinged undertone. And I wasn't quite sure I liked that. I wanted more of the browns, like warm browns. So, like I said, I ordered a couple pieces of fabric that I was hoping would work for this from Kitten Stitcher, but it's not here yet. So once it gets here and I get a look at it, and I like it, then I want to start this. I wasn't able to find all the floss for this yet because a lot of colors have been sold out, but I think I have all the floss for the border. And I know I have the floss for the house. I don't have the roasted marshmallow, and I think there's one or two of the more brown colors that were out. But I should have enough. Like I said, I can start the border and work on that, and I can do that big giant house while I'm waiting for the other colors to come in stock. So I would like to start that one, but it depends, like I said, on the fabric. If the fabric isn't one that if I want to keep looking for fabric, I'll probably start this one in its place, the Away We Ride by Blackbird Design. And I've picked out a 32 count Oaken to stitch that on by Picture This Plus. folded all funky. But, yeah. So I think that will look nice. Ooh. Doesn't want to refold. So oaken. For that. The next one that I really would like to start is from Priscilla and Chelsea, and it's their new Truckin' Along June. I ordered the floss and the fabric, but it's not here yet. So if I get the floss and fabric in time, then I'd like to start this one. I do have these patterns in my store, Loves Rubberstamps and Needlecrafts, which is an online store. So I do have these in stock. My website is just lovesrubberstamps.net, and you can get those. I also have Penelope and Peep in stock too, but I want to stitch that truck. I would like to start the wordplay series from Brenda Gervais, and the one I have kitted right now is December's with the floss, so I'd probably start with that one. And I plan on stitching these. I think this is a 32 count vintage pearl barley. I'm not sure of the count. I think I have it wrote down somewhere, but I think it's 32. It might be 36 though, I'm not sure. One of those, but it's vintage pearl barley is the color. Then the next one I want to start is In the Berry Patch by All Through the Night. I've actually stitched this one twice already, and I want to stitch it for myself. I stitched it once for my exchange piece for a Midwest cross stitch retreat, and then I stitched it once for my mom. And I'll actually insert a photo of how I finished this for the retreat and for my mom, in the way I want to finish it for myself. So I'll insert that picture here. But this is super sweet. The little plaid leaves are really cute. So, and it's small, so I'm just going to stitch this on. I think this is a 32 count, or maybe 28. 28 or 32 count, I can't remember offhand. Vintage Country Mocha. And then, sorry. There's 3 other designs that I've really been wanting to start too, so I'll just add these to my pick from me for my 12 starts. The first one is Maxine Gad from Mystic Stitch. It's a Maxine Gad pattern for, it's called Dandelion Salad. I love that little snail and his little face. But I don't want to stitch all of this green. And it looks like it's shaded and like, but it's not. Like if you look at the pattern, it's like solid green stitches. So I'm going to remove that myself, or try to. So when I start this pattern, I'll probably start it in the middle and work my way out, because I want to stitch the snail and the dandelions and probably the shadow right under. But then all that green background I want to take out, because I'm going to stitch it on a hand dyed. So I'm going to try to remove it myself. And the fabric I chose is this Hand Dyed Fabrics by Rolanda. It's a 28 count, and it's a really pretty greens, like spring green with some yellows in it. I thought that'd be really pretty with the, because I still kind of, I like the green background, I just didn't want to stitch it. And I thought this would be really pretty with like the little pops of yellow. Reminds you of like a spring day. So that's one I'd like to start. Another one that I've really been wanting to start is Halloween Delivery by Plum Street Samplers. And I want to stitch that on a 28 count sand. Sand is almost the color that I would like for my Winter Rose Manor. I'd have to look and see if it comes in the 36, if that other fabric doesn't work. And then the last one that I'll show you that is from my potential starts is from Stony Creek magazine, and it's this Winter Welcome Sampler. I love this one. And I actually bought the fabric from Stony Creek to do it in this version. It even came with the little fringe, and it has a little piece that's folded over that you probably sew across for making the wall hanging. So I know that's more than 12 projects, but more than likely the new starts that I get through will come from that pile of kitted projects. Who knows, I might get a wild hair and pick one of the other projects I have kitted up, but more than likely the new starts that I have will come from one of those that I just showed you. So I'm hoping for 12 new starts, but like I said, it's not a guarantee that I get through everything, so I'll just get started what I get started and just have fun with it. So that's all I have for you today. So I hope you enjoyed watching my plans. I hope that if you participate in Mania, that if you do Flosstube, that you'll share your Stitch Mania plans in a video. I always like watching those, become super enabled and add to my wish list of things that I need, because I, way exceeded my stash beyond my life expectancy, but always want to stitch everything. So that's all I have for you. So I appreciate you stopping by, and I will see you next time. Happy stitching, y'all. Bye.